In this class, you are going to learn about how often. So, if you're ready, let's get into the video. You use how often in questions when you want to ask about the frequency of an activity. Let me give you some examples. How often do you go to the park? I go to the park 3 days a week. So the frequency of this action, going to the park, happens 3 times a week. Another example. How often do you visit your grandma? I visit her every Saturday. You see, this action, visit my grandma, happens every Saturday. So this is how you use the question, how often? Now, if you see in the answers of these 2 questions, we have some important phrases. Number 1, 3 times a week. Every Saturday. These kind of expressions are the ones that you use to answer the how often question. So, you use adverbs of frequency and time expressions to answer how often questions. Let's learn some of the adverbs of frequency and time expressions. Let me give you a list of adverbs of frequency. First, we have always, usually, often or often, sometimes, hardly ever, and never. Now you are going to see over here some percentages. So you use always to talk about something that the frequency is 100%. So for example, I always go to church on Sundays. You don't miss a Sunday. So every single Sunday you go to church. Then usually could be a 90%. Often it's more of a 70%. So it's more like you do it more than you don't. Okay? Then we have sometimes. So this is like a 50-50. Right? Sometimes you do it, sometimes you don't. We have hardly ever. So this would be like a 10%, alright? It's pretty rare when you do it. And obviously we have never. So it's something that you don't do. Now let's talk about time expressions or expressions of frequency. You are going to see over here a chart. The first one is with every. Okay, this is the main word. And then the secondary words are up to you. So you can say every day, every week, every month, every year, or even you can add a day to that. Every Sunday, every Monday, or a part of a day. Every night, every morning. Now, you also have over here once, twice, 3 times, and 4 times. Now, the meaning of once is that you do it 1 time, and then you add the extra word. For example, once a week. This means only 1 day of the week. Now, twice means 2 times. Okay? So if you say twice a day I drink water, you do this action 2 times a day. Then you have 3 times a month or 4 times a year. So you have these other time expressions for you to answer the question, how often? So now you know some expressions that can help you to answer the how often question. Remember, you have adverbs of frequency, that they have a percentage, right? They are not so specific. And then you have time expressions. 3 times a day, or twice a month, these can be considered a little bit more specific. So, now that you know this information, let's practice, okay? Alright, to practice, I am going to ask you some how often questions. The only thing that you have to do is answer according to what you do. So, question number 1. How often do you go out with your family? Do you go out every weekend? Do you go out once or twice a week? How often do you go out? Alright, are you ready for question number 2? How often do you go to the movies? Do you know that? To watch a movie with popcorn or nachos. How often do you go to the movies? Do you go once a month? Do you go twice a year? How often do you go to the movies? Now, question number 3. How often do you work out? Like run or do jumping jacks? How often do you work out? I never work out? Is that your answer? No, come on, come on. I sometimes work out. Or you always work out in the morning? So these are some examples of how often questions. And now you know how to answer them using adverbs of frequency.